Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today I want to talk about the various lies that are regularly told about UFOs and the extraterrestrial / non-human intelligence presence here on this planet Earth. Like these are things that whenever you hear them, whenever I hear these kind of things, the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh, that's a lie. That's a lie. Like we're always lied to. People are always lied to by various people about extraterrestrials and UFOs, whether it's people within the government, debunkers, just regular people. There's people who just don't accept the reality that there's something here. People who have, some people who have no idea of the voluminous evidence that has compiled over the decades since the 1940s will make statements, and right when you hear it, you say, "Wow, that's a lie. This person doesn't know what he's talking about." Then, of course, government officials, they lie with regularity on this. They've been lying for decade after decade after decade. It's always the same old thing. And I want to go through these lies. Now, this isn't any particular order. I just put this list of 12 lies that are told with regularity. And when you hear these things, you know that these are lies. Anyway, let's start with the first one I have. Number 1, extraterrestrials, or non-human intelligent beings, are not responsible ever for cattle mutilations. That's a lie. That's totally false. There's no question that there are something strange is happening with cattle and other animals. A lot of people have known this for a long time. Research that was conducted in the 70s into the early 80s, particularly by Linda Moulton Howe. It's very clear that there's an extraterrestrial presence here on this planet, and they are interested in cattle, and they are responsible for some of the very strange cattle mutilations and other animal mutilations that have been reported throughout the decades. So there's no question about it in my mind about this. We have no evidence. Like the excuses put out there by the naysayers that they are could be satanic cults, that the government for some reason might be doing this, might be responsible, that they're trying to set us up to think it's aliens, which is absolutely absurd when you're on its face when you think about it. Because why would the government, any government, want to make people believe that aliens are mutilating cattle when at the same time they're denying the extraterrestrial reality? Well, why would they do that? Why would they ever say that? So that's not true. And then a lot of times you hear, it has to be predators. Then that's no. We're talking about laser precision cuts, beasts that are completely drained of blood. There's no sign of blood around the animal. A lot of times there are strange lights in the sky seen. There's been many reports of this over the decades. So yes, there's no question that extraterrestrials, for a lot of these cattle mutilations over the decades, are responsible. So when people tell you that they are not, that is a lie. Okay, number 2. Alien abductions are simply the result of a dream state that occurs during sleep paralysis. Now, this is one of the most absurd lies about this extraterrestrial UFO phenomenon that you could possibly ever hear when you think about it. Okay, in fact, there's been books that have been put out by people, like by psychologists. Like there's a book by Susan Clancy. I can't think of the name of it right now. That was put out saying that this is what happens. People are in sleep paralysis mode, and then they imagine while they're in this sleep paralysis that extraterrestrial beings enter their room and take them on a ship and abduct them and all this kind of nonsense, which is absolutely false. I know what sleep paralysis is. I have had sleep paralysis when I was a child, a few occasions actually. And basically what it is, it's the wires get crossed in your mind. It's basically the opposite of sleepwalking. The wires get crossed in your mind, and your body thinks you're asleep when actually your brain is awake. With sleepwalking, it's the opposite. Your body is basically acting out its dreams. You're moving. No, it's not sleep paralysis. And how many different reports have there been over the decades? Many famous reports where people are abducted in the presence of others. People in broad daylight have been abducted. There's so many different cases. The Betty and Barney Hill, for instance, were the first well-known ones. the Travis Walton case from 1975. I mean, there were 6 other witnesses to this, all passed lie detector tests. I know there's a lot of people out there on the bunker side, they just don't believe it. They have no proof behind any of this, any of their statements. But the people are abducted in broad daylight sometimes, driving down the highway, at a family picnic. There's all sorts of kind of reports over the years. It's not all the time. It doesn't happen all the time in someone's bedroom in the middle of the night. Of course, it does sometimes, but not all the time. The Pascagoula incident with Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker. Charles Hickson's been dead for years now, and Calvin Parker just recently died. In 1973, they were abducted. They were both wide awake. They were fishing on a pier off on the Pascagoula River. I mean, there's just that's an absurd assertion to say that, it's just sleep paralysis. People are wide awake when it happens. What about those cases? They don't consider these things. Obviously, these alien beings are here, and they're up to. They do try to keep it clandestine, obviously. So a lot of cases do involve people getting abducted from their bedrooms in the middle of the night. That has happened, of course, many times. I mean, it's been reported many times. But there's also people who have been abducted in broad daylight, or while they're in the middle of something, working on something, doing something. So that's an absurd lie, actually. So alien abductions are not simply the result of sleep paralysis. That's not the explanation for this. That's just nonsense. That's pure, absolute nonsense. Okay, moving on. Number 3, no government in the world is keeping secret knowledge of an extraterrestrial presence. That's a lie. As we all know, there's no question that governments of the world are not releasing this information for whatever reason. We're not exactly sure what the reason is. Could be a variety of reasons, but there's no question that governments of the world are keeping secret knowledge of the extraterrestrial presence. There's obviously there's some sort of elite groups within governments that was established at some point in the long past, probably in the 40s, 50s, 60s, that handles this. Is that they are the only ones allowed to have knowledge of this, while other people, elected officials, for instance, apparently are not given this kind of information. It's unclear whether all presidents of the United States are provided the truth about the extraterrestrial presence. They are probably given some information, but at this point in the last few presidents that we've had, it seems like they may have been given something, but they're not given all of it, and this allows plausible deniability. And meanwhile, there are secret groups. There's a secret control group, no question, working within the United States government that is studying this secretly and lying about it to the American people. There's no question about it. And in other countries, the other officials are lying to their citizens as well. There's no doubt about this. Anybody who has studied the UFO extraterrestrial phenomenon would know that there's a mountain of evidence that shows that governments are secretly studying the extraterrestrial presence. There's no question about it. So moving on. Number 4, no government in the world has ever recovered crashed alien craft and alien bodies. That's a lie. That's an absolute, unadulterated lie. There's no question about it. There's been numerous different crashes that most certainly have happened that we know about. I would have to say for sure that the Roswell crash is something that definitely happened. There is no question about it. There were way too many witnesses that talked about it as the years went on. And so there's no question that the United States, for instance, has recovered alien craft and bodies. And this is, forget about the David Grush revelations in Congress. I mean, that's just, he's telling a lot. He's just singing to the choir, basically. A lot of us have already knew that this was going on based on research by other UFO investigators for the decades leading up to today. So there's no question that they have recovered crashed alien craft, and they've been keeping that secret, and as well as alien bodies. They're keeping these things on ice. There are many people over the years that have investigated this, like, for instance, the late Leonard Stringfield, this UFO investigator. He talked to many people, a lot of these people off the record, and was given information about the recovery of crashed flying saucers, alien craft, alien bodies. Bodies are placed in cryogenic suspension, right? They're kept. There's no question that this has happened. There's no doubt about it. Anybody who would do the research on it, there's enough books out there that have been put together by various different UFO investigators, interviews with different high-level officials, sometimes off the record, that shows that yes, there is no question about it. Governments of the world, some governments, for sure, the United States government, there's no question in my mind, has recovered crashed alien craft. I mean, there's so many different cases we could talk about here. In addition to Roswell, there's the Aztec case. There's the alleged 1945 Trinity case in New Mexico. A lot of them in New Mexico, where we first exploded atomic bombs. It seems like some of those crashes happened in that area, and there's no question about that. We have recovered alien craft and bodies, and they're on ice somewhere right now in a facility, and we're not being told the truth about it. So when you ever hear that this is not true, that there's no evidence to that, no, there is evidence to it. There's enough evidence that's been compiled over the years to show pretty much conclusively that the governments have recovered alien bodies and craft. Okay, number 5. No government in the world is attempting to reverse engineer recovered alien craft. As we know, just from the recent revelations from David Grush, whistleblower, to Congress, that there is a reverse engineering program. But again, like I've pointed out just before, a lot of people who study UFOs already know that this is going on. There has been reverse engineering going on behind the scenes. I happen to be one of the people who believe. I believe the story of Bob Lazar from the late 1980s. He said in 1989 he was part of this program working on craft. There are people right now who have talked to Congress in closed meetings and are talking other whistleblowers beside Grush who have been reverse engineering alien craft. There's no question about it. The people aren't going to go and lie about this under oath and risk going to prison. There's no question that this has been happening, and it makes sense. I think that the reverse engineering program is the biggest reason for the cover-up. I mean, whoever comes up with the formula to imitate these craft, I mean, they're going to control this planet if it's even possible. I'm not sure if it is possible. I have trouble believing that an advanced race that's capable of traveling 100 million light years to Earth from some other place, I think that they would be so advanced we would never figure it out. But hey, that doesn't make me right about that. Maybe we are figuring it out. I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving the human race enough credit. Maybe in the end, maybe in the final analysis, for all we know, the human race will become more intelligent than the beings that are coming here right now, that are here right now. Maybe the beings that are here right now are here because they're afraid of us, because they see how we are advancing. We are advancing very quickly. And within 1,000 years, think about where we will be within 1,000 years, what we will be doing. We could be a threat to them. So maybe we have made some progress with the reverse engineering programs, but we don't know, because our government officials who know about this aren't telling us anything. They're lying about it. Although there is, as we all know, there are attempts right now by people within Congress to finally pry that truth away from the characters who are working behind the scenes and know all about it and are keeping this knowledge from the world. Okay, moving on. Number 6, all UFO sightings can be attributed to natural occurring phenomena, drug and or alcohol use, hallucinations, hoaxes, or misidentifications of existing human-made craft, planets, stars, meteors, satellites, etc. Yes, that's a lie. That's an outright, absolute fabrication. That's made up nonsense. Anybody who says that, it's a liar. How can you tell? Because their lips are moving. There's no question about it that not all UFO sightings, some of them, there's no question. I would say probably a majority of UFO sightings have an explanation, have a prosaic explanation. However, there is most certainly a number within those sightings where there is no explanation, or there actually is an explanation. Let me reverse that there. There is an explanation. The explanation is that these objects are being, whether they're UFOs, USOs, whatever, transmedium objects that could move in and out of bodies of water into the air and then fly off, whatever. Right? There are things that are here that are technological achievements by some race that is beyond anything that we are capable of right now, and some of them are extraterrestrial / non-human intelligent created. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt in my mind, because I saw one of these craft up close and personal. There's no doubt about what the thing that I saw in 1994. There's no way that this thing could have been made by humans. Absolutely no chance. No chance. And there's millions of other people who have seen things. I mean, sometimes, you hear stuff, people talk about things that are way far away in the sky, making maneuvers, and that's interesting sometimes. But when you see one of these things up close, right within 20 feet, right, you know, and there's so many different accounts of this throughout the years. People who see craft that are on the ground, people with humanoids walking around them. There's just so many stories like this, so many reports on this. There's no question that some of these UFOs are most certainly are objects created by extraterrestrials. So number 6, of course, is absolutely a lie. That there's no way. Not all UFO sightings could be attributed to prosaic explanations. That's impossible. Impossible. Okay, moving on. Number 7. It is technologically impossible for any intelligent race of beings to traverse the great distances through space that would be required to reach Earth. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. That's a mentality with somebody thinking in the technology that humans have achieved up to this point. Because we can't do it doesn't mean that they can't do it. For some reason, these people who are skeptical about this, debunkers, and of course the liars in the government that are protecting this secret, sitting on this, they'll tell you the same thing, even though it's a lie. There is a way, obviously, because they're here. They figured it out. And eventually, the human race is going to figure it out. Eventually, the human race is going to be traveling outside of this solar system and into the galaxy at large here. Or, excuse me, the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. We're going to be exploring it. And then at some point, even beyond that, if we continue to exist, we're going to explore other galaxies. That's what's going to happen. As long as we don't destroy ourselves, or something else destroys us. As long as the human race is allowed to continue to evolve, we are going to travel to other places too. So yes, just because our scientists right now can't figure it out in their brains that there are different ways to travel through space, just because we don't know what the answer is, doesn't mean that other intelligent life that is way more advanced than we are, way more evolved than we are, hasn't figured it out. Because they have. There's obviously, because they figured it out, because they're here. So that is a lie. There's so when you hear someone saying that, you know that they're lying, and that's it has to bother you like it bothers me. Okay, moving on. Number 8, intelligent life is rare, and humans are the only technologically advanced civilization in the universe. I don't know how anybody could know this. I mean, for one thing, that's a lie on its face, because there's none of us on this earth could possibly know that it's rare. How could we know that? I mean, just in the previous podcast that I did, I mentioned how there are over 700 quintillion planets in the universe, estimated, right? And a quintillion equals a million trillion. Each quintillion equals a million trillion. Now, when you put that into perspective, the possibilities of intelligent life is endless, boundless. There's no question that there's more intelligent life out there, right? It's not. I don't see how anybody could state definitively, oh, it's rare. That's a lie. You don't know that. You don't know that. Now, I don't know actually either how much life is out there, but I could assume that it's probably a lot, but I wouldn't say exactly how much. I would have to imagine, if I were to guess, I would say in the trillions. But there's no way that the humans are the only technologically advanced civilization in the universe. There's just obviously no chance of that, because there's other beings that are here, as a lot of us already know. So yeah, number 8 is most certainly a big lie, no question. Okay, moving on. Number 9, revelation of the reality that there's an extraterrestrial presence on Earth would cause mass panic. That's a lie. It would cause some panic, but it would not cause mass panic. You're not going to see people running, screaming, hollering through the streets if somebody in the government were to step forward and finally tell the truth about the extraterrestrial presence, that there have been recovered crash there have been crash retrievals, as well as reverse engineering programs, as well as studying recovered dead alien bodies, and perhaps even live aliens that we might have picked up along the way. That's not going to cause mass panic. People who don't believe in this don't right now, all the time, on a regular basis, every day, right? Every day, you could pretty much bet your boots, like the NASA Bill Nelson said recently. You could bet your boots, right? That there's no question that there are people right now who don't believe in this, right? And they'll have an experience of their own, and then they'll believe it, but they're not going to panic about it. So that tells me that once the revelation is finally made, when the truth is finally presented, there are going to be people that are going to be shocked and surprised, but they're not going to panic. There will not be a mass panic. There will be some people, perhaps some people who are really religious zealots who believe that there's no other intelligent beings out in the universe than humans, that God created only Earth and human beings are the only intelligent creatures in this entire universe. There will be people there that might be very upset and deny it, but I don't see mass panic. I think that's a lie. I cannot imagine the whole world panicking, a mass panic. Because they're all right. It's all real. They are here. I don't think that's going to happen. No, that's a lie. Okay, moving on. Number 10. UFO debunkers provide the most reasonable explanations for UFO sightings, alien encounters, and alleged UFO cover-up conspiracies. That's a lie. As a lot of us know, UFO debunkers, they don't even consider all the evidence. They cherry pick evidence to fit their narrative. And so they are not. Their explanations are never the most reasonable, ever. Now, of course, there are times where, unfortunately, I have to agree with debunkers. If they point something out, like there's been sightings of people say UFO, they saw UFOs and it turns out to be Starlink. Well, that's just, of course there are misidentifications sometimes. Of course there are. And it makes it look like these UFO debunkers are intelligent. They are not. It's a facade. UFO debunkers are not intelligent. The only the only thing that they have the ability to cherry pick data, cherry pick the information with regards to a certain sighting, and only debunk the easy ones that are easily debunked. Oh, that's a balloon. I could show it. See, it's easy to show. But then when it comes to the more difficult cases, for instance, the Turkey UFO incident from 2007, 2008, and 2009. Of course, there was a Turkish fisherman who filmed craft on various occasions with witnesses at his side on many of the incidents. To see this all unfold, we filmed the craft hovering out over the sea near his home on numerous occasions, and on some of those images, some of those videos, you could see actual alien creatures in there inside the craft, and they're moving around doing things. It looks like in one of the images, it looked like somebody was. It looked like they had a human being in there, and it might have been an abductee for all we know. We're not really sure, but we could see actual alien creatures in there, as described by many people over the decades who said they were abducted by aliens. It's very realistic, and actually the videos were actually looked at by experts from 4 different countries, as I talked about many times before. That video shows that there are and they determined that it wasn't a hoax, that it was actually an anomaly that they can't explain. I could explain it. It's actual extraterrestrials at work doing what they do. Right, flying their craft, whatever they're doing, you don't know exactly, right? But they're there. That's what they are. For instance, there's also many other cases like that. But whatever the case, debunkers never provide. They are not the most reasonable people. In fact, now some people in ufology, they are not reasonable either. You have to throw that out there too at the same time. But there are many people who study UFOs who are skeptical and they're accepting of evidence when it's there, and that's the way you need to be. You need to be somewhat skeptical, but at the same time, you can't believe everything that's thrown your way, because some of the stuff is obviously, certain videos are hoaxed a lot of times. So you have to. So that makes it clear that because of reasons like that, debunkers, they will not concede to anything. That makes them most unreasonable, not reasonable, right? The most reasonable people are the ones who are somewhat skeptical, but at the same time, they know that they've done enough research that they know that there's a presence here, because all the evidence, the preponderance of evidence, points in that direction. So yes, that's a lie. UFO debunkers do not provide the most reasonable explanations for this phenomenon. Most certainly not. Okay, moving on. Number 11. There is absolutely no proof that there is an extraterrestrial presence on Earth. Well, that's a lie. Just what I was just talking about just before, the Turkey UFO videos, for instance. That's proof. That's proof, right? The aerial school incident from 1994, like I always talk about, among other school incidents, like the Westall school incident in Australia in 1966. That's proof, right? There's been landing trace cases where people had seen craft landed and beings walking around. The Lonnie Zamora 1964 case in New Mexico, where he saw a craft landed with two beings walking around. It left evidence on the ground. You could see there was burn marks on the ground. Vegetation was burned. There were footprints, tiny footprints. That's evidence. There is evidence. There are objects that have been removed from alien abductees, alien implants that were removed by people like the late Dr. Roger Lear, right? That's proof. There is proof. There's so many different pictures, videos. Sometimes some of these pictures and videos were taken in the presence of other witnesses. There's all the eyewitness testimony. That is proof. That some of these things, like for instance, the aerial school, the Westall school, a lot of different incidents where there's a lot of people, many people seeing this at the same time. The 1997 Phoenix Lights incident. That is proof. There is proof. There is proof. Right? All these people that would, if this were to go to court, a lot of these cases were to go to court, a judge in the end would determine, yes, obviously there's beings here that are not, or a jury would determine that there's beings here, obviously, that are not of this earth, because all these people saw, they testified to it. And here's the evidence. Here's the landing trace evidence. Here's an implant that was removed that no scientist in the world can explain. Right. So yes, there is evidence of it. We have evidence, and of course, there's the evidence that's kept away from the public. The most definitive evidence, the evidence of the alien bodies that have been recovered in crashes, the crashes, the craft themselves that are being secretly studied. That evidence is most certainly there if we were able to have access to it. If all civilians would be able to have access to it, that would serve as additional proof. But there's absolutely proof right now. Without all of that shows us that there is most certainly an extraterrestrial presence here on this planet, right? So number 11, there's absolutely no proof. That's a lie. When somebody tells you there's no proof, right, they're lying. Either that, they don't know what they're talking about, or they're really stupid. I don't know, one of the three, I guess. Okay, now we're going to get finally to number 12. There is no way an intelligent race with the ability to travel incredible distances through space to get here would ever crash. That is a lie, because they have crashed. Anyone who has done research knows that crashes happen. Here's the question we don't know, and we could only speculate: are the crashes done on purpose? Are they a way to infiltrate the governments of the world to collect data on human beings? Is that what they are? Are they just Trojan horses, or are they just crashes? And no matter which one you look at, whatever the choice, they both make sense. Now you'll hear people, debunkers out saying there's no way that would ever happen. Well, as we all know, technology fails. All the technology that surrounds me right now someday is going to fail. This cell phone I have in my hand right now is going to fail. The microphone I am speaking into right now is going to fail. The headphones on my head at some point, right, are going to fail. The laptop in front of me someday is going to crash and never work again, okay? Things fail. The light bulb in that light over here is going to fail. The light over here is going to fail. Everything's going to fail at some point. All the technology that human beings create fails at some point. Something goes wrong all the time. There's nothing that we make that will last forever. Nothing. In fact, nothing lasts forever. So it is possible. Doesn't matter. Now, there really haven't been that many crashes, apparently. We hear numbers of, for instance, anywhere between a dozen to 116. We don't really know exactly how many crash recoveries there have been. But if you're looking at the last 80 years, that's really not a lot compared to all the crashes of human aircraft that have occurred throughout that time. If you look at all of this, if you study it, you would know that there are way more human man-made crashes of man-made objects, aircraft, than the ones that are alleged to have been alien crashes. But the bottom line is this: that's very possible. Why wouldn't they crash? For one thing, I think there's a misconception here. I think a lot of these smaller craft that you see, like a flying saucer, for instance, a lot of flying saucers are described as 30 feet in diameter. They're not that big, right? So then they crash, okay? But I don't think it's those little saucers. I mean, we have to let's consider this. It's not those little saucers that traverse the incredible distances through space to get here. They probably came here in something bigger, motherships like the one that was seen by thousands of people, well over 1,000 people in 1997, flying over Phoenix, Arizona. So we're not really sure exactly how they're getting here. Most likely we could speculate that it could be in motherships, but we don't. I don't believe, but I could be wrong. I don't believe that they come here in these little craft that end up crashing sometimes. But I believe that sometimes why wouldn't that be possible? So just because you don't believe that they could travel all these great distances and they didn't crash, well, obviously it happens, right? And again, there's another possibility here too, like I point out, is the fact that these could be staged. These crashes could absolutely be staged. I mean, let's face it. If we're human beings, at some point we're going to travel to some planet, and we come to a planet that's very similar to, like, say, 1925 Earth. Okay, they're advanced to that level. We're trying to figure out what's going on here. We don't know anything about their language, how they communicate. We're trying to understand these people. Well, a way to get in there would be to give them a Trojan horse. And from within that Trojan horse, there may be some technology that we could figure them out with, that they won't know that we're spying on them. That could be what's going on with these crashes too. That's something else to consider. But it could be that they just crash sometimes. Anyway, that is it. That is my top 12 biggest lies that you hear about UFOs and extraterrestrials. I'm sure that there are some others out there, and if you have any others, if anybody wants to share them, it would be appreciated. Anyway, I want to say thank you for joining me. Until next time.